Hi, I'm Geoff Calkins. I'm a member of the Vision Council, and this is supposed to be the week when we have our congregational meeting. We obviously cannot do that, and so they asked me to read this letter instead. Judy Johnson, a member of Idlewild Presbyterian Church since 1970, recently found herself doing something she never expected to be doing. I'm trying to figure out how to use Zoom, she told me. It was for a meeting of the diaconate. Unable to meet in person because of the coronavirus, the deacons were to meet virtually using a video conferencing platform called Zoom. I am the church, Johnson told me. We all are. So if a part of the church is closed, then I need to step up and be the church in a different way. As summaries of a year ago, that certainly works as well as any. This was a year that Idlewild, the clergy, the staff, and the members of the congregation stepped up and became the church in a different way. This was supposed to be the Sunday of the congregational meeting, at which the church would receive the annual report. The members of the Vision Council decided this year they would do a different sort of annual report built around a series of smaller stories that demonstrate how, even in a time of extraordinary transition, the work of Idlewild has gone on. In the past year, 6 staff members have left. Their tenure at the church ranged from 3 to 19 years. In response to that, the clergy, the staff, and members of the congregation repeatedly rose to the occasion in ways small and large. When Pastor Emeritus Henry and Lois Strock said they could use some help getting to church from their Germantown home, a collection of congregants volunteered to band together and give them a weekly lift. When the national conversation turned to the immigration crisis, the church began a process of study and discernment called No Longer Strangers, which included a trip to the border of Arizona and Mexico. I found it incredibly rewarding to see how energized and faithful everyone has been in this time of transition, said Johnson, who was on that trip to the border. It's been really wonderful. So that was the idea, to tell stories of the remarkable way the church has risen to the moment. But then the coronavirus hit, and the moment became even larger, and the leadership of the church determined that the congregational meeting itself must be postponed because, according to attorneys, the conduct and attendance at a congregational meeting by electronic means is not permitted. There will still be a congregational meeting somewhere down the road, of course, but in the meantime, here we are maintaining social distance, trying to master Zoom, and continuing to, quoting Johnson again, be the church in a different way. How can we be the church when we're not in the church? How can we worship together when we can't be in the sanctuary together? By way of answer, all you had to do was turn on the live stream of the 11 a.m. service 2 Sundays ago, when more than 300 households, and that represents probably about 700 people, tuned in to join a worship service that had been put together in less than 2 days. The previous Wednesday, Idlewild had sent out an email saying that the passing of the peace and communion would be changed. But by Friday, it became clear that the right thing to do was to change to an online-only service. Heather was driving it, said Reverend Ann Apple, referring to Dr. Heather Johan, the clerk of the session. We knew we had to be proactive so we wouldn't be stuck in a reactive place. Countless other area churches continued to worship in person that Sunday, but even at a time of transition and even after a year of relentless change, Idlewild instantly understood what had to be done. We had to redo everything, starting with the bulletin, said Jenny Brooks, the transitional director of operations. Anne, who was herself in self-quarantine because of a recent trip to Seattle, recorded a video of herself from her home in Memphis. We put it on a big screen TV in the sanctuary. Chris Ackland got a tight shot, and it worked so well, some people thought she was actually in the sanctuary. It was not how anyone preferred to worship, but all who saw it and all who participated found it to be extraordinarily emotional. I would just believe that God was at work in that, Apple said. If you saw the comments on the chat that runs alongside the live stream, some people commenting on how this has been mentally hard on everyone, others explaining what it means to be connected to each other in this totally unexpected way, I just really believe the connective tissue in this church is very strong. There are many challenges ahead, of course, for the church and for the world. This is a different Lenten season than has ever been. It will be a different Easter, too. But the darkness does not last forever. The stone is rolled away from the tomb. That is the promise of Easter, however we celebrate it this year. Idlewild is as vital as ever. Its people are as faithful as ever. The past year has been a glorious witness to that. It's been heartening, said Johnson. It really has. It has given me hope.